Vistam 151, go around.
Go around, Vistam 151.
Vistam 151, heavy, thanks. The last departure lost the wheel on departure, so we're going to have to shut the runway down. So fly runway heading and maintain 3000.
Roger, Vistam 151.
Omicron 7 heavy, we're going to have to...
Welcome to Brasher Warning, the podcast that dives deep into aviation incidents with sharp analysis, insightful discussions, and just a touch of edge. If you're passionate about aviation and love a good post-incident breakdown, you're in the right place. Before we take off, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your crew. Let's get into it.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're looking into a tragic aviation accident, the Learjet 35A crash in Grand Bahama back in 2014.
It's a case with some really important safety lessons we can all learn from.
Definitely. We've got the detailed reports from the official investigations. Let's get into it. First things first, can you set the scene for us? What kind of flight was this?
This was a business flight, a short hop. Nassau to Freeport in the Bahamas.
Like how short are we talking?
Just 24 minutes of flight time.
Wow, and they ran into trouble in that short time.
Yeah, the weather was really bad. Low visibility, rain, mist. You know, the kind of conditions that make things extra challenging for pilots. They were flying in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC, meaning they had to rely solely on their instruments.
And in those conditions, procedures become even more critical, right?
Absolutely. Any deviation, even a small one, can have serious consequences.
So tell me about the crew. Were they experienced?
Oh yeah, both the captain and the first officer were certified by the FAA. They had significant flight time under their belts and were fully qualified to fly the Learjet 35A.
So experience wasn't the issue here.
No, this is a reminder that even seasoned professionals can make mistakes, especially when dealing with complex systems and challenging conditions.
So walk us through what happened. They attempted an ILS approach, right?
That's right, an instrument landing system approach. Standard procedure for landing in bad weather.
But they had to abort.
Yeah, they had to do a go-around because the visibility was just too poor.
That happens sometimes, though, right? It's not unusual.
Not at all. Go-arounds are a common safety procedure. If the conditions aren't safe for landing, pilots are trained to abort and try again later, or even divert to another airport.
Makes sense. So they went into a holding pattern.
Yeah, they reported entering a holding pattern at 2,000 feet, waiting for the weather to improve.
Seems like they were following protocol at that point. So what went wrong on the second approach?
Well, they were cleared for another ILS approach and began their descent. But, and this is where things get really concerning, the investigation found that they descended below the authorized altitude.
Below the authorized altitude.
They were flying lower than they should have been, and they didn't have visual contact with the runway. They were essentially flying blind.
Wow, that's a big problem.
A huge problem. And tragically, that's when they hit the crane. The Learjet collided with a towering crane at the Grand Bahama shipyard, about 3.2 nautical miles from the runway. And the impact was, of course, catastrophic. All 9 people on board lost their lives.
That's heartbreaking. So what did the official investigation conclude? What was the primary cause of this terrible accident?
The National Transportation Safety Board determined that the probable cause was the crew's decision to descend below the minimum descent altitude without having that visual contact with the runway, all while operating an IMC. That deviation from standard procedure was the crucial factor.
It's hard to believe that experienced pilots would make such a fundamental error. Were there other contributing factors?
Yes, the investigation did find several. First, it seems they didn't strictly follow the prescribed ILS procedures. There were deviations in their approach path and how they managed their altitude.
So not one big mistake, but a series of smaller ones that added up.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of situational awareness. It appears their understanding of their position, where they were relative to the runway and the surrounding terrain, wasn't accurate. They may have become disoriented in those challenging conditions.
And there was also something about communication problems in the cockpit.
Yes, the investigation pointed to a breakdown in crew resource management, or CRM, how well the crew communicates and works together, especially under pressure.
So it wasn't just one thing. It was a combination of procedural deviations, situational awareness issues, and CRM breakdown. But didn't the Learjet have a safety system that should have prevented this type of accident?
You're talking about the Terrain Awareness and Warning System, or TAWS. It's designed to alert pilots about potential terrain collisions.
So it should have warned them about the crane.
Absolutely. But here's the truly disturbing part. The crew not only ignored repeated warnings from the TAWS, but they actually disabled it.
Why?
That's the question that always lingers. We can analyze the data, but we can never fully know what was going through their minds. Could be complacency, overconfidence, stress, miscommunication, even a misunderstanding of how the system works. Whatever the reason, the consequences were catastrophic. It really emphasizes the importance of respecting safety procedures and understanding the potential dangers of overriding those safety systems.
This is already so much to unpack, and we're just getting started. We'll be right back after a quick break to dig deeper into those safety lessons and what we can all learn from this tragedy.
We value your input. Subscribe and leave a comment to share your thoughts. Your feedback shapes the future of this show.
We're back. A stark reminder that even in aviation, where safety is paramount, things can still go terribly wrong.
It's true, and as we've seen, it's often not one big catastrophic failure, but a chain of events, a combination of factors that contribute to these tragedies.
And in this case, the investigation highlighted three major areas: procedural violations, CRM breakdowns, and the disabling of the TAWS system. Let's dig into each of those a bit deeper, starting with those procedural deviations. Why is it so critical for pilots to strictly adhere to established procedures, especially when flying in challenging conditions like IMC?
Well, standard operating procedures, or SOPs as they're known in aviation, are really the bedrock of safety in the skies. They're not arbitrary rules. They're carefully developed and rigorously tested, based on years of experience, data analysis, and lessons learned from previous incidents. They're designed to standardize operations and minimize risk, especially in those critical phases of flight, like approach and landing.
But in the heat of the moment under pressure, wouldn't it be tempting for a pilot, especially an experienced one, to think they can handle it, that they can deviate from the procedure just this once?
It's a natural human tendency, for sure, to want to rely on our experience and instincts. But aviation is a complex system, and even small deviations from established procedures can have a ripple effect, leading to unintended consequences that can be difficult to predict or control. That's why adhering to SOPs is non-negotiable, especially in instrument conditions where the margin for error is so much smaller.
So it's not about blindly following rules, it's about understanding the why behind those rules,
Yes.
the safety rationale that underpins those procedures.
Exactly. Pilots need to be trained not only on the how, but also on the why. They need to understand the potential risks associated with deviating from those procedures, even slightly, and they need to be confident in their ability to execute those procedures flawlessly, even under pressure.
And that brings us to the next critical factor, the breakdown in crew resource management, or CRM. We touched on this earlier. Can you explain a little more about what CRM is and how it can help prevent accidents like this one?
Sure, CRM is all about optimizing the performance of the crew as a team. It's about effective communication, shared situational awareness, and collaborative decision-making in the cockpit. It's about recognizing that safety is everyone's responsibility, not just the captain's burden to bear.
So instead of a hierarchical structure, where the captain is the ultimate authority, CRM promotes a more collaborative and communicative environment.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture where everyone on the flight deck feels comfortable speaking up, sharing their observations, raising concerns, and questioning decisions, even if those decisions are coming from the captain. It's about fostering an atmosphere of mutual respect and open dialogue where everyone's input is valued.
So in this case, if the first officer had voiced concerns about descending below the authorized altitude, or if the captain had been more receptive to such concerns, the outcome might have been different.
It's impossible to say for sure, but effective CRM could have potentially prevented this situation from escalating. If there had been open communication and a willingness to challenge assumptions, perhaps the crew would have caught the errors earlier, reassessed the situation, and made different decisions.
CRM is really about shifting the mindset from I to we, recognizing that everyone in the cockpit plays a vital role in maintaining safety.
Absolutely. And CRM training equips crews with the skills and techniques to communicate effectively, manage stress, resolve conflicts, and make sound decisions as a team. Especially under pressure, it's about recognizing that human factors like fatigue, stress, and communication breakdowns can significantly impact performance and decision-making.
And then there's the issue of the TAWS system, which the crew intentionally disabled. This seems almost unbelievable. Why would experienced pilots disable a system designed to protect them from a ground collision?
It's the question that continues to puzzle investigators. It's impossible to know for certain what was going through their minds at the time. There are various possible explanations: complacency, overconfidence, a misunderstanding of the system, or perhaps frustration with nuisance warnings. But regardless of the reason, The decision to disable the TAWS system had fatal consequences.
It's like taking out the batteries of your smoke detector because it keeps going off when you burn toast.
Exactly. Safety systems are there to protect us, and we need to respect their purpose. Pilots need to understand that these systems are based on sophisticated algorithms and data analysis, and they're designed to alert them to potential dangers that they might not be able to perceive on their own.
So it's a matter of trust, of having confidence in the technology and recognizing that these systems are there to enhance safety, not to annoy or hinder them.
Exactly. And this underscores the importance of thorough training on these safety systems. Pilots need to understand how they work, why they're important, and how to interpret their warnings correctly. They also need to be aware of the potential risks of overriding or disabling these systems.
And it's not enough to just have the training once. It needs to be ongoing, reinforced regularly to ensure that pilots stay sharp and maintain that respect for these safety systems.
Absolutely. Complacency is a dangerous trap, especially in a field like aviation where things can change rapidly and small errors can have catastrophic consequences. Ongoing training, recurrent simulations, and open discussions about safety incidents are all essential to maintaining a strong safety culture.
This accident, with all its complexities and tragic consequences, really shines a light on the human element in aviation safety. It's not just about technology and procedures, it's about human behavior, decision-making, communication, and the critical importance of maintaining a vigilant and questioning mindset, even when things seem routine.
And it reminds us that even in a highly regulated industry with sophisticated technology, we can never eliminate the human factor entirely. That's why it's so crucial to focus on training, on building a strong safety culture, and on constantly striving to improve our understanding of human performance and decision-making in complex systems.
We've been unpacking this Learjet 35A accident. And while we've talked about the technical aspects, the procedures, the weather, what resonates most with me is that human element.
It's always there, isn't it? The human factor.
Yeah, I mean, you have these highly skilled, experienced pilots, and then a series of decisions.
It's a stark reminder that we're all human. We all make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes can have devastating consequences.
This accident, it goes beyond aviation, doesn't it?
It really does. Think about it. We rely on systems every single day. Driving a car, working in a complex organization, even just managing our daily routines. We're surrounded by systems with built-in safety measures.
And this accident shows us that those systems are only as strong as our understanding of them and our willingness to use them properly.
Precisely. And it's easy to become complacent, to blindly follow rules without truly understanding why they exist.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, it's a reminder to constantly ask ourselves, what if? To challenge assumptions, to prioritize safety above all else, even when things feel totally routine.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Complacency and overconfidence, those are dangerous traps. And this tragedy really underscores that. We need to constantly evaluate risks, ask questions, and never assume that we're immune to errors.
Learning from these tragedies, I think that's the most respectful way we can honor the memory of those we lost.
I agree. By examining these incidents, understanding the factors that contributed to them, and sharing those lessons, we can hopefully prevent similar events from happening again.
If you're interested in digging deeper into this accident and learning more about aviation safety, I highly recommend checking out the National Transportation Safety Board website. They have a ton of information on aviation accidents, investigation reports, and safety recommendations. It's really worth exploring.
And remember, safety is an ongoing journey. We can all learn from incidents like this, whether we're pilots, passengers, or just going about our everyday lives. Staying informed, staying vigilant, and never taking safety for granted, those are things we can all strive for.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a tough one, but an important conversation. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and above all, stay safe.
Thanks for tuning in to Brasher Warning. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a flight with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment or review, and don't forget to share the podcast with your fellow aviation enthusiasts. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and keep soaring.
American 1552, contact center 127.0.
1552, we're going to be Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. We have an engine failure. We're going to return to DFW.
1552, roger. And which runway do you need?
We'll take 18 right.
Roger, American 1552, turn right heading 020, just going to maintain 8,000.